Somewhere between James Arnett's crashing onto the scene in The Thing from Another World and Kurt Russell torching his way through John Carpenter's The Thing, there may have been a missing link.
Travel with us, if you dare, on the Horror Express.
Today, we're digging up another hidden gem, the 1972 Spanish-British co-production Horror Express.
Anything that moves near that door, kill it!
And the burning question is, does this possible unofficial take on John W. Campbell's Who Goes There deserve a seat at the Thing family reunion?
For 2 million years in these subterranean caves, a creature of superhuman evil was entombed in a wall of ice, waiting to live again.
Now, to be clear, Horror Express isn't some dusty relic that no one's heard of. Many horror fans out there already know and love this cult gem thanks to video rentals and late-night TV airings back in the day.
Well, look who's here.
And with Hammer horror royalty in leading roles, there's no way this one was ever going to be forgotten. Plus, the movie even features pop culture icon Telly Savalas.
You got the hooks for that, pussycat?
Who loves you, baby?
Okay.
But horror hounds and Kojak lovers aside, this lesser-known chiller may have slipped under the radar for some, so I'll keep spoilers to a minimum.
Run for your life. Hide, but you can't escape.
Horror Express was written by Arnaud Dussault and Julian Zimmett, and it was directed by Ennio Martine. Right out of the gate, the parallels to Howard Hawks' The Thing and Who Goes There are pretty clear. We open in frigid Manchuria circa 1906, where British anthropologist Professor Saxton, played by Christopher Lee, discovers a mysterious frozen creature. But instead of taking his find to the nearest scientific outpost for some proper poking and prodding, he loads it into a crate and hops aboard the Trans-Siberian Express.
What are you going to astound the scientific world with this time?
You'll read about it in the Society's annual report. It's a remarkable fossil.
Fossil?
As you might have guessed, the so-called fossil eventually thaws out during the journey, and before long, all hell breaks loose. And by that, I mean this thing, pun fully intended, starts viciously picking people off one by one, using a paralyzing death stare and leaving behind a trail of grisly remains. One key difference between the Thing films and Horror Express is the setting. Instead of a remote, snowy outpost, we have a European-bound train.
Is this number 8?
That's next door, Wells compartment.
Sure, our passengers are on the move, but they're still trapped in this frozen wilderness with nowhere to run, making them easy prey.
You're in bad humor because you've lost your box of bones.
Another area in which this film excels is the strong cast. I already noted the legendary Christopher Lee, but let's not forget the other half of our villainous Star Wars duo, Peter Cushing. Cushing plays Dr. Wells, Saxton's friendly rival and Geological Society colleague.
The occupant hasn't eaten in 2 million years.
That's one way to economize on food bills.
Lee and Cushing's chemistry here is top-notch, which is to be expected considering their close friendship and many Hammer collaborations. But what makes this even better is their dynamic quickly evolves from rivalry to partnership as they band together against the real threat, our mysterious monster.
Haven't we met?
I don't believe so.
There's also a solid supporting cast, which features El Galine as a shady mystery traveler who's clearly up to something, Julio Pena as our hot-headed inspector, and there's a Polish count and countess as played by Jorge Rijo and Sylvia Tortosa. I also have to mention the count's utterly creepy, Rasputin-like spiritual advisor, as played by Alberto de Mendoza. He's basically our crazy Ralph, harbinger of doom.
Beware the wrath of Satan.
Last but not least, I especially want to highlight Telly Savalas.
Who are the killers? Who are the troublemakers?
When he finally enters the picture as an over-the-top Cossack captain, it's a thing of pure scenery-chewing beauty. And that speaks to his skill set because most of his dialogue and performance was completely improvised.
This is outrageous.
Who loves you, baby?
For a low-budget flick, I'd say Horror Express looks pretty impressive. Interestingly, the crew only had one train set to work with, so they kept redressing it to simulate different cars. The result was a believable yet claustrophobic atmosphere that works perfectly. Speaking of the train, the exterior shots featured a large-scale prop originally from the 1971 film Nicholas and Alexandra. Apparently, when the producer Bernard Gordon got a hold of it, he loved the prop so much, he basically built the movie around it. But the real draw here, at least for an old-school monster junkie like me, is the practical creature.
Miss, are you there?
In this case, our monster is closer to a guy in a suit look from the original Thing film, but that's why I love it. And far from the plant-based brute that Arness played, this creature is its own unique thing. Again, pun fully intended. And I especially like that from the start, we're shown this reanimated fossil isn't mindless. Much like the creatures in the other films, this one also adapts, survives, and according to Saxton, it may just be a missing link in human evolution.
I have heard of evolution. It's immoral.
It's a fact. And there's no morality in a fact.
That said, the creature is described as ape-like in appearance, which I guess I can see. He's certainly hairy, but I don't know. I also get a gritty 1970s zombie vibe, which is also fitting because the Japanese title for this film is Zombie Express to Hell. We'll compromise and call it a zombie ape.
Incredible.
Needless to say, as the film progresses, we discover a lot more about the origin and motives of this being. I'll refrain from further details, but let's just say there's more to this zombie ape than meets the eye.
Very curious.
Aside from the monster, there's also much more to Horror Express in terms of twists and turns, some of which parallels elements from the other films, and some of which helps differentiate it. Most notably, the underlying science versus faith debate.
The Eye of Satan.
Nonsense. There's a scientific explanation.
You know it?
Fortunately, Horror Express doesn't always take itself seriously. We get moments of levity throughout, especially between Lee and Cushing, but I think Cushing gets the bulk of the funnier lines.
What if one of you is the monster?
Monster? They're British, you know.
Speaking of the lighter moments, I also wanted to credit Alice Reinhardt, who plays Wells' quick-witted assistant, Miss Jones. She manages to squeeze in some great jabs here and there as well.
Miss Jones, I shall need your assistance.
Yes, well, at your age, I'm not surprised.
With an autopsy.
As for the direction, Martin does a solid job. He gives all of our key players time to develop, while slowly ratcheting up the tension. Speaking of which, the eerie spaghetti western flavored score by John Cassavetes is an unexpected but memorable touch. The main theme alone will absolutely remain stuck in your head. In terms of trivia, perhaps the most famous behind-the-scenes info is that during the making of the film, Peter Cushing was still grieving the loss of his wife Helen. Understandably so, he didn't even want to be in the movie at all. But his good friend Christopher Lee was fully supportive, and he was there for him every step of the way, which I think is something that makes this collaboration all the more meaningful. Another interesting bit of trivia I wanted to note is that Horror Express was actually resurrected in one of the more memorable episodes from the Creepshow TV series, Night of the Living Late Show.
I'm in the movie.
The episode stars Justin Long as the inventor of a groundbreaking virtual reality experience that allows users to step into their favorite films. Horror Express, of course, being his top choice.
Can I be of any assistance?
So, is Horror Express really a missing link in the cinematic chain of The Thing? Ultimately, that's for you to decide. But in my view, the spirit of Howard Hawks' original tale feels alive and well here. Both films start with the frozen discovery, both have B-movie setups elevated by A-list talent, and both feature that classic guy-in-a-suit monster charm.
You don't understand? That thing wanted to be on!
As far as similarities to the 1982 Thing movie goes, well, we get a familiar setup, although in Carpenter's version, the fossil discovery is more of a backstory since the creature has already escaped. Also, Horror Express isn't as gory, but there's still enough blood on this ride to keep horror fans happy. On a deeper level, like Carpenter's film, Horror Express taps into the same paranoia, mistrust, and psychological horror that festers when people are isolated and grappling with the unknown.
The Unholy One is among us.
All of that said, in my view, Horror Express earns a well-deserved seat at the Thing table. In fact, I think a marathon of The Thing from Another World, Horror Express, and John Carpenter's The Thing would make for a killer triple feature. As for The Thing from 2011, well, if you're looking for even more stories in the vein of Who Goes There and The Thing, you're in luck. Many movies and TV shows have paid homage to The Thing over the years. Most notably, there was the X-Files episode Ice, and even Star Trek episodes such as Acriel from The Next Generation and The Adversary from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. However, if you're looking for more official Thing-related material, there is a video game sequel to Carpenter's The Thing, which was remastered in 2024 by Night Dive Studios. And there's always the Dark Horse Comics continuation, which is well worth checking out too. As far as criticisms go, there are some minor pacing issues, especially on the first watch, and the dubbing might throw some people off.
And the Lord had mercy on his soul.
Not that he deserves it, the dirty thief.
But overall, Horror Express still shines. It's surprisingly clever throughout, and the monster is memorable as hell.
The malignant power of this creature is indestructible.
Whether the film is really a missing link or just a wild ride from the 70s, one thing's for sure, it's one of the more intriguing and underrated monster flicks out there. If you want to check out Horror Express for yourself, it's available on DVD and Blu-ray, and it's presently available right here on YouTube, and it's also on Tubi. As far as my rating goes, I'd give Horror Express 4 out of 5 zombie apes. Thanks as always for watching, everyone. If you've seen Horror Express and have your own thoughts on it, then feel free to leave a comment below. Until next time, take care, be well, and definitely avoid poking around crates with frozen monsters. Later.
I hate this movie. No one's ever seen Horror Express. Do not make me come back into this goddamn business.
Who loves you, baby?